but we're actually going to talk less about me. We're going to save that to the end where we share our own stories of transformations, because it's not just me who was transformed, it was everyone, whether it be if you were born into an Amritari family or if you weren't, or if you're just new to this path. So first I would just like to say thank you to everyone. I've never been to the West Coast, and this is an amazing experience. I don't think I've learned so much in a few days that I've learned here about Gurbani, about Gurmat, about just life. And so thank you. You guys are the light for a person like me. And that keeps me going. So the topic that we're going to talk about today is becoming molten iron, the transformative power of Gurbani, which is essentially the metamorphosis of the self. How do we achieve our true self? How do we go from one point to another and keep progressing every day? So I would just like to request if everyone would close their eyes. Everyone's eyes.
Don't be shy.
Close your eyes, and Guru Kripa Karan that we're alive in 10 years, and just imagine where you are going to be in 10 years. What do you feel like? Who are you hanging out with? What does your family look like? What are you doing? And can you please open your eyes now? So when I think about that question, I automatically think of my job. I want to be a neurosurgeon. I hopefully will be in medical school getting a medical degree and doing surgery on people. And so who thought of stuff like that? Jobs, family, kids, where your home is? Raise your hand. So those are very, very worldly goals, right? And they matter, of course. But how do we convert our worldly concerns into a spiritual concern? How do we convert those thoughts of, am I going to have a job in 10 years? Or if I'm going to have a house in 10 years, to, am I still going to be close to Guru Sahib in 10 years? Am I still going to be falling in love every day with Gurbani in 10 years? Do I imagine myself continuing to walk on this path in 10 years? So for that to happen, for us to reach anywhere in life, transformations have to occur. Change is not static. It requires constant improvement, constant progress. And so why choose transformative? Right? Why is Gurbani transformative? It's everything else. Why choose transformative? Because every moment we have is a chance to being better. Right? We are not the people we were yesterday. I know I'm not, because today Asa Divar hit me differently than I did yesterday. And yesterday I didn't, experience Simran the way I did the day before. And so every moment is another chance to keep that transformative process going. So how do we use that process to channel Guru Sahib, to channel our best self? And for a person like me, what I was 2 years ago, or even 3 years ago, actually who I was last April, completely different. And the whole Reddit thing basically was a symbol of my transformation. Because if you had asked me to do that a year ago, to defend why I look this way, why I chose Gurmat, I would have never had the words, wouldn't have had the courage, I would have been angry. It's really funny how Guru Sahib transforms us every day. And that is what we're going to talk about today, how we can channel that process into our daily life. So before we get into transforming into our future self, we're going to talk about ourself now. Who are we today? And today, are a beautiful thing called home. We have this beautiful pun that I found on the internet. We're going to talk about home, ahankar, the separation between ourselves and a Galpurik, because I haven't reached that point yet. I am not perfect. I still deal with my home, and that is my current self. But I hope for one day where I do meet Waheguru. And so home is, in Gurbani, 5 things. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Ahankar. Kam is desire. Krodh would be anger. Lobh would be greed. Moh would be attachment. And Ahankar would be self-centered, self-centric perspective on life. And I was on the plane and I was thinking of, what do the 5 thieves mean to me? You know, we say home, I'm living in home right now. You know, like I forgot to do Nityanem, I'm so much in my home right now, I'm feeling insecure, so much home, you know. And I tried putting 3 or 4 things, kind of characteristics of each jor, you would say. And I found it really difficult because they're not separate identities, they're entangled with themselves, right? Every part of home feeds off each other. But how can we change that process to motivate ourselves towards Guru? So for me, Kam is a combination of Moh and Lobh. For other people, it would be something else. Ahankar would just mean arrogance. For me, it also means insecurity. And then Lobh would not only be selfish, but discontent. So it's all tangled up in each other. Home is just one label that we have on it, and it is what we are living right now. And what does Gurbani have to say about home? I've been very, very, very inspired by Asadiwar lately, and so most of the Gurbani books we will be discussing are from Asadiwar, because Asadiwar is just like, you're doing this wrong, you should change it, and this is how you change it, you know? And so what does Asadiwar have to say about home? It says, home is hukam. We live it every single day. And every person has it, no one is immune to it. We are all wandering in this life or the next life. And so Guru Sahib asks us, where does home come from? How can we remove it? And what I got from this Shabad was that it's a disease, but also ego has a cure for it, cure within itself. And some people might interpret that as, oh, okay, it's a disease, there must be a cure. But can we ever cure home if it's hukam? No, we can find ways around it. So what I interpreted that as was home, ego, has a power. It motivates us, you know, everything we do. I fell in love with Gurmat because it made me feel good about myself. Essentially, that's home too, you know. It wasn't a selfless love I felt. I was like, okay, I love doing kirtan, it makes me feel good. I love these people I'm meeting, they make me feel good. I like being validated, I want to follow this path, right? But what do we ever think about, can we validate the Guru through our actions, you know? And so, home has this motivation. Home has this force. Shakti hundi hai home de vich. And the cure for home lies within that power of motivation. And so, I keep repeating this question, but how do we transform the power of ego into the power of humility? How do we transform our fire of home into a fire of pyar, a fire of love for Guru? And believe it or not, the answer lies in Gurbani. Yay! So, Guru Sahib answers it as well. The cure is Guru Shabad. Gur ka shabad kamada hai. And then he says, Nanak kaha suno jano, it's sanjam dukh jaye. Through Shabad, we find ways to navigate through our ego and find that moment where We're descending down from our home and we're still being uplifted from our insecurities. And in the middle is where we find Sahaj. In the middle is where we find Naam. And then eventually, once you flatline, Guru Sahib will automatically uplift you out of that cycle. The roller coaster of life, I like to call it. But before we get into that, we have to talk about what is Guru? What is Shabad? What does Guru mean to us? And for me, Guru is, like Bhai Sahib said, Jin manas se devte kiye kart na lagi baat. I am a sacrifice. I sell myself to that Guru, to that power, to that person, to that thing, that idea that will transform me into a superhuman, into a superhero. We think of Superman, he's just a regular guy. Or, no, we don't think of Superman. We think of that 18-year-old Shaheed that sat in front of the train for Guru's langar. I'm 19. If someone didn't get langar, I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe someone else would give them langar. But he died for it. He's 18. He was 18. So what made him so powerful, so strong, so magical that he had that strength and that bad? And also, Guru Angad Dev Ji's life was changed as well. One Gurbani Tuk from Bhai Jodh Singh Ji, just walking along, minding his own business, you hear Gurbani Tuk and instantly, I know what I want to do in life. I need to find this person who is making me this inspired. And next thing you know, he becomes Guru as well. He becomes like that idea, like that Shabad that he heard. He becomes a personification of that. So, traditionally, Guru is the vessel through which knowledge is transmitted, something that we can learn so that an apprentice, a Sikh, a learner can be better. So, Guru, everyone knows this, is two words, Gu and Ru. And Gu means darkness. Darkness, not only lack of natural light, but ignorance. The absence of wisdom. So in Asadivar, again, Jaisa Chanda Ugve Suraj Chare Hajar, Ete Chanar Hundya, Gur Bin Kor Andar. We can walk around in the white snow, daylight, strobe lights, go to a disco. It's full of light, but we're still lost. We're still wandering in the forest alone, crying out. And so, what is the role of the Guru then? How can the Guru find us? Ru means that which eliminates darkness. And here, through Tuk, Sat Sangat Milya Har Sadhu, Mil Sangat Har Gun Gaye, Gyan Ratan Balya Kart Chanan, Abhyan Andhera Jaye. And here, that Ratan, that illuminates your life is Gyan. Gyan, for me, is another word for Guru, I think. And for me, that always means finding your true self. Realizing our own humanity, realizing that we're all connected, and realizing our ability to love one another as an expression of Guru. And then the heart is open to Guru. Then it's just, I see Guru in everyone. Just come on over, man. Just knock the door. I'll be waiting. And then ignorance is dispelled. And then you become just as truthful as the Guru that you follow. But does this happen by itself? Does this process happen just randomly? Do we wake up and say, I'm spiritually illuminated. I'm enlightened. Oh man. Do we wake up and think that? We wake up and we're like, oh, I'm so tired. Right? Oh man, Nithanim. Oh man, it's still dark outside. Does that process happen by itself? No, it doesn't. And you know what I found out in the past 2-3 days is that Simran, Vaheguru, that word Vaheguru, is in awe of that transformation. Guru literally is a process of changing darkness into light, converting that ignorance into knowledge. And Simran is the expression of astonishment at that. And I think that's why Guru Sahib tells us to do Simran every single moment of the day, whether it be by your mouth, by your mind, by your heart. So you're always having that hope that one day I will wake up and say, you know, like, I'm spiritually illuminated. You know, I know I'm corny, sorry. But it's that hope. Simran is that expression of hope that one day I too can become the Guru, that I too can be just free of this veil that is separating me from my Guru. Literally saying like, wow, I wish. So Gurbani also makes Guru the Philosopher's Stone. Who's read Harry Potter? If your hand's not up, I'm really disappointed in you. But no, really, read Harry Potter. It will teach you a lot about Sikhi, a lot about Gurbani, and yeah. No, really. But the Philosopher's Stone is basically a substance, a legendary substance that is said to be capable of converting base metals like lead into gold or silver, iron into gold or silver. Something that is essentially pointless and useless into a priceless thing. And it was also sometimes believed to be an elixir of life, or useful for rejuvenation and possibly achieving immortality. And I just got this from Wikipedia. Immortality, right? So people who've read Harry Potter, Voldemort comes after the Philosopher's Stone at Hogwarts because he was hoping it would grant him immortality. It would bring him back from the dead and transform him into a human being again. And just like that, Guru is our Philosopher's Stone. And Guru and Gurmat have that ability to change us from human beings to being Vaheguru, into mere iron to gold in an instant. And a single touch is just needed for that process to start. Can someone read this for me? It's too long. I only do like 2-liners.
Got it.
Riji, I've been looking at you the whole time.
I'm not too good. Not too good.
Riji, can you do it?
गुर पारस हमलो मिल कंचन होया राम ज्योति ज्योत मिलाए काया गढ़ सोहया राम काया गढ़ सोहया मेरा प्रभ मोहया क्यों सास ग्रास विसारी है अदृष्ट अगोचर पकड़िया गुर शब्दी हों सतगुर कै बलहारी है सतगुर आज्ञा सीस भेट दियो जे सतगुर सच्चा भाव है आपे दया करो प्रभ दाते नानक अनक समावै.
So this Shabad is perfect, right? This is what we've been talking about. So this whole Shabad talks about the bairag of a soul bride wanting to meet Guru through ardas. There's a lot of panktiyan above it as well, so I didn't want to go into that. But all the panktiyan are talking about, I wish I was doing ardas, and through love, by singing, by adorning herself with Guru Shabad. But we realize, Guru Sahib realized we're so full of ahankar, of gun, hum of gun pare, that we can't get out of it by ourselves. We have to just let go and trust Guru Sahib. Submit ourselves, our beings, to Guru and Hukam. But how do we do that, right? And this Shabad tells us how to sustain that one touch. One touch of the Philosopher's Stone is needed. How do we sustain that though? And it tells us, once again, Gur Shabad, right? Satgur aage sees pe deo je Satgur sache paave. And it says, Adrish agochar pakdiyo Gur Shabdi. Haan Satgur kya bulhare. Holding on to Gur Shabad is the way to go. Reading Gurbani, but only if you understand it, if you have that pyar, if you have that jao to put it into your life. You know, I was recently asked a question like, what's the difference? You know, we're doing the same nitnem, you know, but how are we at different stages in our path? You know, and that's because some people understand it more. They understand Gurbani more. They put it into their life more. And as you make Gurbani relevant to your life, once it becomes reality, once it becomes a measurable action, then the process, the transformation can sustain itself. And so that brings me to our next part. Why should you believe me? Why should any of you believe me that this can happen? Really, like, I can barely listen to Hukam, so why should you listen to me? Because we're here. Because we're all sitting here. Because we have that jao, we have that pyar to keep going. No matter if you're like, oh, way ahead, or you're just starting. We want to taste har ras. We want to fall in love with Guru. And Gurbani shows us how to convert something as infallible and intangible, like that jao, like that happiness you get from singing Kirtan, into something that you can do your entire life. And can someone explain to me how we convert a rock, iron, that's natural iron, into a shastra, a coin, or something useful? I know India Chindan. Does anyone know? Faisal, do you know?
Hanji.
Blacksmithing?
Yeah.
ਤੁਸੀਂ explain ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ?
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਜਦੋਂ ਆਇਰਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਹਥਿਆਰ ਬਣਾਏ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅੱਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ, ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਥੌੜਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੁੱਟਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਦੀ ਸ਼ੇਪ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਮ, ਕ੍ਰੋਧ, ਲੋਭ, ਮੋਹ, ਹੰਕਾਰ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕਈ ਔਗਣ ਨੇ, ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਲਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਅੱਗ ਵਿੱਚ। ਅਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਪਛਤਾਵਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਉਹਦੇ 'ਤੇ ਥੋੜੇ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਟੀਮ ਲਾਈਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਫਿਰ ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਹੈ। ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡਾ ਤਪ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਘਾਲਣਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉੱਠਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬੈਠਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਘੰਟੇ, ਲੱਤਾਂ ਵੀ ਗੋਡੇ ਵੀ ਦੁਖਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਿਕਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਬਿਊਟੀਫੁਲ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਜੀ।
I don't even need to continue on to the presentation, that Faisal's told the answer. But we often read this body. Oh, are you serious? Oh my God. Okay. No, it's there. It's on my notes. It's not there though. That's okay.
Maybe you can read the Shabad to us.
Okay, ji. We often read this in Japji Sahib, the 30th body. Jat Pahara, Tirat Sunya, Aharan Mat, Ved Hatyar, Pao Khala, Agan Tapta, Panda, Pao Amrit Pitta, Kadiya Shabad, Sachi Taksal, Jinko Nadar Karam Tinkar, Nanak Nadari Nadar Neha. Vaheguru. And so this Shabad, if you would, like, English translation was better, but literally it goes through the steps of how you take iron and convert it into a coin, something that is raw, and turn it into something of value. And Guru Sahib uses that analogy to talk about Gursikhi Jivan. How do we convert our mind, our thoughts, into Shabad? How do we convert it into Guru? And the first line, basically I read the Shabad when I was just learning about Gurmat. I'm still learning. But this Shabad was just awesome. You know, we often read it in Japji Sahib, we're just like, oh, okay, Jat Bahara Tirat Sunya. You know, we don't think about it. But Japji Sahib kind of gets you on a journey of how we attain Shabad, how do we become Shabad, and this party just sums it up. And no, we're going to go through the translation though. And the beautiful thing about Gurbani, I think, is that you can read one Shabad, and if you understand it, then that's it. That's all you need. And Gurbani, for me, isn't just something that invokes feelings. Right? It should invoke motivation to do something. And Guru Sahib was awesome because all of the Shabads that we're going to talk about now outline what can be done. Not just feelings of like ardas, but how we can convert that ardas into becoming closer to Guru. Oh, you can see it now. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go through the English translation. Jat pahara tirit sunyan. Let an environment of contentment be your oven, and patience be the metalsmith. Ahran mat ved hatyar. Let your mind be the anvil, and Shabad be your tools. Weapons, actually. Bal kala agantapta. Allow the loving fear of Vaiguru. Fuel the fire of Simran within. Panda pao amrit tital. In the crucible of love, Amrit shall be poured. Gardiyan Shabad Sachi Taksal, then you can mint the true coin of Shabad, which is essentially the essence of Naam. Jinko Nadar Karam Tinkar, through the mercy of Vaiguru, through Kirpa, one can be blessed with such a life, and it's such a life, not just such a feeling, but such a life. Nanak Nadri Nadar Nihal, and Nanak says, the giver of blessings has truly blessed me with happiness and exalted my being. Then you go from here, but it's a long process, and we're going to go through it. Jat Baharati Rutsnyan. Let the self-contentment be the furnace, and let patience be the goldsmith. So a furnace is used to purify that rough metal, to make it soft and pliable, to help it melt, right? Getting rid of impurities. And the goldsmith is the person doing it. Patience is the thing is converting your mind, your stubborn mind, and making it soft and pliable so it can actually listen and apply hukam. And so, what is Guruji actually trying to say? Have patience. Path of Gursikhi is slow. Like I said, we don't wake up and think, I'm a Brahmgani, right? We don't think that. It's a lifelong process. It's a many lifetime process. You know? Bahut janam bichhde the madho, eh janam tumhare lekhe. And your atmosphere, your environment, your furnace, your life, make that an environment of self-content. Make it hang out with the people, hang out with the sangat that allows you to feel content. And not only just your external environment, but your internal environment. How are you on the inside? And that internal atmosphere of contentment can only be attained if we seek the company of those that are seeking the same thing. I think there's a Punjabi line. It says Jaisi Sangat, Taisi Rangat, or is that in Gurbani? I'm not sure. But anyways. So, this lovely infographic, we are trying to be here, right, by being a Gurmukh. But how does that internal atmosphere come about? You know, I was lost when Guru Sahib found me, actually. I didn't have the internal atmosphere. But how does it change in the span of 2 years? Why does it change? Because you have an idea that I want to be better. I want to feel worthy of life. I want to feel like I am worthy of love, of being my own person. That idea is just running across your mind, and it becomes a thought. It becomes a constant kind of reflection you have, right? You were thinking about it like, oh, okay, I'm insecure, I'm angry, okay, what can I do, what can I do? That, what can I do, becomes into an action. Okay, I can start doing Path, or I can start going to Gurdwara, or I can read a book, you know, just chill, relax. And that becomes a habit once you do it enough. That's why Nitnem is important. That action of reading Path, of sitting there, concentrating, if you do it enough through your life, it becomes a habit. And then you find it hard to feel complete during the day if you haven't done Nitnem. You know, like if I forget to do, I have all of Nitnem memorized except for Jap Sahib. And so when I'm in a rush, I often do Jap Sahib while I'm rushing. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, you know, Janga nahi hoya, I'm not concentrated, all those things. And my entire day, I'm just like, I wish I did Jap Sahib like properly, like actually try to understand it. So that's what I mean when habit, repeated actions then become your nature. Then you just do it because you do it. Yeah? Like all the Gursikhs we see and read about, they had no problems waking up at Amritullah. They had no problem sacrificing their lives because it became a part of them. Guru-Shabad became who they were. And I think that's what Guru Sahib means when they say, eliminate all sense of my, I, mine, yours. It's just Guru. And Faisal was just talking to me right now before I was like freaking out, as many of you saw. And he was like, your words are not yours, they're Guru's.
Yeah.
So what do you have to worry about?
Yeah.
And it becomes a part of you. It becomes your nature. And then through Gurmukh, you become a Gurmukh. And then a Gurmukh goes to other people like themselves who are on that path. And the cycle continues. But it's also important that that same idea can be taken the other way. If you have an idea, oh, I want to be a better person, but then your thought becomes, okay, what can I do? And then your action is, instead of, you know, something Gurmat oriented, whether it be, you know, something not related to Path or Bani, just like learning to control yourself. If it's something like, oh, I'm just gonna go party hard and like do drugs, right? That's the extreme example, but we do minor stuff on a daily basis. So that action can become a habit, and then you're stuck into being like not Gurmat oriented, and then you fit for Jonify. And it's not like we're worried about it. Tikki's about here and now, but you know, still, that cycle is very cyclical. It's hard to break out of until that one moment where you're like, where you either change your idea, change your thought, or change your action. That moment of transformation can occur at any single time. You just have to be open to it. And through all of this, through going through this Gurmat and Satsangat and doing Gurmat-oriented stuff, then your internal environment starts changing. Then your thoughts aren't your own. They're Guru's thoughts. You're thinking of the Guru. And I think of Gurmat as a measuring stick. You know, Ardas, when I listen to Ardas, those Gursikhs, those examples of what Gursikhi Jivan is, I'm like, am I like that? Did I do something like that today? You know, would the Guru be proud of me today? By asking myself those questions, you know, our thoughts are automatically kind of, you start measuring up and you're like, oh, I'm lacking here. I should do something more. That's when your internal environment starts changing. When you stop looking outside, stop looking at other people, stop looking to external things. Those are going to happen. I like to say, Guru Sahib doesn't make life easy. Guru Sahib provides a change in perspective. That's when your internal environment starts changing, when you change your perspective. Stop looking outside and look inside. What am I doing? Am I worthy of being called a Sikh? Am I living up to what my Guru said? Do I love Guru enough? And so that's how your mind, your internal environment starts becoming malleable, starts becoming receptive to hukam. And then it's important to notice that this is about patience and contentment, no matter how much you fail, no matter how much you miss Amrit Vela like I do. Having the hope and like the contentment to say, okay, I'm doing something, that isn't as good as I should be, but next time I will do better. And being okay with it. Learning to accept your imperfections. Learning to accept not just the best part of you, but also the avgurn. You need both to stay balanced. Because it's easy, like if you're like, oh, people think I'm awesome. It's really easy to like just flail like a chicken in your mind, like, oh, people think I'm awesome. And then you lose sight of your avgurn. But if you focus on your avgurn, then you lose hope of acquiring those gurn. So don't lose hope. Don't be disheartened if, you do something manmat related or, just not like manmat related. But if you can't wake up at Amrit Vela, or you can't memorize a bani, or if you can't, do Simran, it's okay. Small steps. So after your mind starts becoming receptive, Guru Sahib goes on with the analogy and says, Ahran mat ved hatyar. Ahran is anvil. It's the thing they have, the big Tom and Jerry, the big thing they drop on their heads. Yeah? So they have the anvil, and on the anvil you place the soft metal that's just fresh out of the oven. Okay. And then the metalsmith uses a hammer, a weapon, a deadly weapon, it weighs a ton, to kind of hit that metal and shape it in whatever form. So, like it or not, our thoughts are a direct extension of ourselves. We place our mind, our mat, on that anvil. And that's where it will be slammed by Shabad, by Gurbani, by Guru history, by Gursikhs, to kind of weld it into shape. So it's not just a one-time deal, right? You can't just hit a metal and expect it to turn into a sword. It's a long process. And patience, once again, patience and good sangat. Keep going back to the fire. Make it more malleable. Keep going back. Keep hammering it. Keep going back. Keep hammering it. And the significance of hatyar, it's a weapon. It's not just like spray motto and go away, right? It's not a gentle thing. It's a hatyar. It can kill you. And it's the full-fledged sword of Gurbani, right? We're constantly battling our own selves in our heads. Once we have Gurbani as our sword, once we have Gurbani as our shield and our protection, then nothing can get into it. But how do we learn to use this sword? No one's born a master swordsman. And for that, you need discipline. And what is the Sikh discipline? Rahat. But first, you want to learn. If you don't accept your weapon, how are you ever going to go through the discipline? How are you ever going to be motivated to even pick it up? And if you don't believe in your weapon, if you don't have faith that Gurbani is your weapon, then it won't work. This whole process is pointless. You need faith. Faith that Gurbani does work. And that is Guru's job, to provide you with faith. I can't give that to you. No one can. You have to discover that through your own life. Then Guru Sahib goes on and says, "Pav khalna agan tapta." Let the love, respect of a Galpurak be the bellows. What the bellows are when the metal is being hit, it creates a sound. And those sounds feed the flame of your devotion, of your soul, of your bhakti. And still, the blacksmith keeps the flame going as well by providing with care. Like Simran, you use your... Oh, I just made a point. Simran, you use your breath, air to feed the flames, just like the blacksmith does, to make it hotter and hotter so the process can go even faster. And then you save time, and then you're actually being efficient. And then it gets so big that you can't control it. And then it just explodes, and then it's just fire. So the fear of Vaheguru, not just the fear, but the conscientious awareness of Vaheguru, Gur Mera Sang Sada Hinale, keeps that Simran going. You should be aware of what Guru makes you feel like. You don't want that feeling to go away. You want to cherish those moments in Kirtan, or the moments where you're reading Gurbani, where you feel like your heart was touched. You want to cherish those moments. And that, I think, is, wow. You don't want that feeling to go away. And I'm recalling, someone said to me that Gursikhs cherish Naam so much, that even like a slight flick or a change can disturb it, and they're even afraid of that. Because they don't want that feeling to go away. They don't want to lose Vaheguru. Right? Like Vaisab was saying, I keep referencing him again, he basically said in my presentation in the beginning, to be separate from Vaheguru, you had to be united one day. Right? Before, many, many lifetimes ago. And once you get that feeling of united, being able to hug Vaheguru, be able to feel Vaheguru, you don't want to let it go. Because then you don't know how many more lifetimes you have to spend searching. And that keeps the Simran going. That keeps the love going. And that keeps making your mind more and more malleable, making your mind more receptive of Gurmat. And then slowly your life begins to change. And so it's a circle. It's a very cyclical cycle. You can come in from anywhere, literally. You can come in from anywhere, whether it be Sangat, Simran, Seva, whatever. It's all the same. It's Ikonkar. Never ending. And the key part is living it. I can't stress that enough. We need to start living this. And doing actions, doing Seva. And this will only happen if we decide. If we are like, yes, I decide to follow this path, or I decide to do something about it. Banda Pao Amritadal. So finally, the metal is whacked in and it's melted. It's fully melted. And it gets poured into a crucible, which is a gigantic bhakta, I think. And it melts into Amrit. So now your metal is not hard and chunky, it's soft and pliable, it's liquid, basically. And it gets placed into the crucible of love, and it becomes Amrit. And so what is the crucible of love? Can someone provide me with their thoughts? What do you think Pandapa is? I hope I'm not scoring. Anji.
Crucible of love, I guess from what it seems like, it almost seems the entity that Guru wants you to be.
Ooh, nice interpretation. Yeah. That's interesting. Any other thoughts? Because Gurbani hits everyone in a different way.
Can you repeat what you said a little louder?
Sorry, I meant the crucible of love is the entity that Guru Sahib wants you to be.
Okay.
So like the mold that Guru Sahib provides us, like perfect gursikh, right? You want to pour yourself into that so you fill it up and become it. That's interesting. I never actually thought of it that way. Any more suggestions? I see people thinking. Okay, Ji. So what good. Bibi was amazing. Okay, so what I kind of interpreted that as was your own body, your own soul, your own life becomes the panda bow. You know, we often talk about love, feeling love. Hanji. Okay. This is this one.
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਆਤਮਲੀਨ ਧੋਤਾ ਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਏ ਸੀ। ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਉਣਾ ਇਹਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਲੀਨ ਕਰੋ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ। ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਤਾਂ ਚਲੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਸਹੀ ਓਕੇ ਇਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਜੇ ਸਾਫ਼ ਹੋਵੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਪਾਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਚੰਗਾ। ਜੇ ਗੰਦੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੁੱਧ 'ਚ ਗੰਦੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ 'ਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿ ਸਕਦਾ, ਜੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਾਓਗੇ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗਾ। ਇੱਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਗੰਦੇ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਆ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਠੀਕ। ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਧੋਏ ਬੈ ਸਤੂਪ ਦੇਵੋ ਤਾਂ ਦੁੱਧ ਵਜਾਓ। ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਬੋਡੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਆ, ਔਗਣ ਆ, ਔਗਣ ਕੱਢਦੇ ਜਾਓ, ਗੁਣ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਜਾਓ, ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਗਤ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਆਈ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਇੱਕ ਥਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਬੈਲੈਂਸ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੇ 'ਚ ਗਲਤੀਆਂ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਭਾਈ ਗੁਰਦਾਸ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਐਕਸਪਲੇਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ। ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਨਾ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਕਿ ਰੱਬ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਜਾਣਦਾ, ਅੰਤਰਜਾਮੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਅਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬੜਾ ਡਰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਔਗਣ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਛ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਕਿ ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆ, ਬਾਹਰੋਂ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਆ। ਅਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਡਰਦਾ ਉਹਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਣ ਲਈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਜਾਣ ਲਈ ਡਰਦਾ। ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਪਤਿਤ ਪਾਵਨ ਹੈ, ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਕਿ ਉਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕੋਈ ਪਤਿਤ ਹੋਵੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ। ਇਹ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਕਰ ਦੇਗਾ। ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਪਤਿਤ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਚੰਗਾ ਕਰ ਦੇਗਾ। ਇਹ ਹੋਪ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਇਹ ਹੋਪ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਡਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਕੋਈ ਪਾਪੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੀ ਅਪਰਾਧੀ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਸਮਰੱਥ ਹੈ। ਗਨਕਾ ਵਰਗੇ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਐਗਜ਼ੈਂਪਲਸ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕੁਛ ਆਉਂਦਾ। ਅਜ਼ਾਮਲ ਪਾਪੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਹੀ ਰੱਬ ਨੇ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ। ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੋਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਸੱਜਣ ਠੱਗ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ, ਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੇ, ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਬਣਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ। ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਬਾਈ ਖਾਸ।
Okay, so I really think I shouldn't be doing this presentation. So just to kind of reiterate what Faisal is saying, when a pot is wet, there is a threat of contamination. The milk is dirty. Milk is amrit, right? But if it's dry, then you can pour the milk in without any worry of harm. And then the milk of good actions. Guru Sahib says good actions. He wants you to do something. He wants you to be an activist. He wants you to go out to the world and do seva. And then once you've poured that in, you can start preparing it by Simran, by being detached from everything. And so Guru Sahib continues and tells you how to make Amrit. Basically, what they're saying is be aware, because restrain your mind, hold it, keep it steady, and then keep doing Simran. And so basically, man sampat jit sat sarnavan, pavan pati tripit kare. I looked at a translation of this, and basically, Guru Sahib, I think, is referring to a Hindu puja, and so they have this puja that they do, and then they bathe statues and like containers in it to purify it. But Guru Sahib is saying, make your mind that container. Put your mind in that container and bathe it in a pool of truth. And let this be the offering for the Guru. We give our head when we go into the Amrit Sanchar. Guru Sahib is telling us, give it to me. This is how it pleases me. And the significance of it being a puja is an act of reverence, an act of love. Sikhi is about love. It's simple as I can say. It's love. And without love, you can't get anywhere. And so then when you start feeling that love with every breath, then you will remain like submerged in Vaiguru. So it's a catch-22 actually, because Panda Hachatoy Jyotis Pavsi. It's all kirpa. Nothing happens without kirpa. But the more you go on this path, the more you get closer to Guru. The more you get closer to Guru, the more you stay on this path. And it just keeps going. So, yeah. And that is how the crucible of love holds the Amrit, holds your manmat mind converted into gurmat, oriented mind. And from that container, it's poured out into a mold, and you finally kadiya Shabad Sachi Taksal. The mint, then you make the true coin of Shabad. And then the final piece is so beautiful. So beautiful. And so it's the only thing of worth, like money, right? There's nothing else that benefits us except for Nam and Simran. And so what Guru Sahib just wants to say is, after when you start navigating through your ego, you start falling in love. And then you start accepting life according to Hukam, and then you accept Amrit, not just the ceremony, but Haras, right? That unexplainable essence. And that person, that Panda, can realize Shabad and become the true essence of Vaiguru. So it's significant that Guru Sahib uses Shabad as a coin. Like I said, it's the only thing of worth. And what this whole Shabad makes you is a trader of Nam, right? Now you have this coin. You can go out and trade it for something. And what should you trade it for? You should trade it for Nam. And this Shabad, Tanvat Nam ke Banjare, Sanji Karho, Nam Tan Khato, Gurka Shabad Bichare. Simple, right? Those who deal in Nam, the name of the Lord, are wealthy. Because they have that coin of Shabad, right? They went through that process, and now they have that coin, and now they can give it to someone else, Vaiguru, and they can get Nam. Sanji Karo Nam Tan Khato. So become a partner with those people, get to know them, do Sangat, and earn the wealth of Nam. Earn it. You don't get it, right? You have to earn it. To earn this. This is not, you're here because you're meant to be here. Now you can only move forward. And contemplate the word of Guru Shabad through Gurbani, through your life. Contemplating it actively. And using Gurmat as a measuring stick. And so what is the end result? Then you become Vaiguru. Then you meet your Pritam. And then you're complete. And then you're not lost anymore. And then that's it. Nanak jan har katha sun tripte, jap har hovanti, is become like the Lord. He is the Lord. Jin manas te devte kiye, and that process is complete. And you become that person, like Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji said, Gur Kirpa Jahanar ko kine. E jugatte e jugat pachani. Nanak leen payo gobind singh, jo pani sang pani. Then there is no difference between you and Vaiguru. You might have this kapda, you might have this body still, but there is no difference between you and Vaheguru. Your mind, your soul are the same. And then, it's all about Kirpa. Kirpa is us contemplating this. Kirpa is your entire life. And Kirpa will be your entire life. Because we're lucky to even be alive and breathing. Right? And so that kind of ends the entire presentation, but I would just like to end with a video of something that really kind of got to me. I think, can I? Oh no, I can't.
My name is Tar Sangat Kaur Khalsa, and I wanted to share with you the reason why I'm on this path. And first of all, I didn't choose this, Guru chose me. And there was a lot of times in my life when I first started this path where I thought, what am I doing? This is crazy, I don't understand it. And when I would turn away, my heart would break. And every time I would even think of something that would take me away, my soul would cry. And there was a lot of times where I had a lot of pain during this decision of my commitment to Sikhi and to Guru Khalsa and Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and my own soul. And the only thing that really saved me at my pain in my heart was the Banis. And I really put it to the test. I had the most pain I can't even describe to you. And I said, okay, if this works, let's see. I started doing my Banis and it changed everything. The frequency of my whole entire being, my life. And I bow my head to this life, this path. And my ardas every day is for me to always be on this path and to inspire others to come along this journey with me. I feel that the Shabad Guru is the most powerful and non-Simran. You can't go any higher, and there's nothing outside of yourself. And when you look outside yourself, that's when there's problems. And just feel inside the non-Simran, and that's the best advice that I could give anyone. And it's helped me, it's transformed my life. And Vaheguru.
Very nice.
And I think that just summed everything up. I think her story is similar to everyone's story.
Bole so nihal.
And so it's a process of transforming yourself, and you never know where it will take you, but you trust the driver that is driving your car. You don't know where you'll go, you don't know where your destination is. You can just look out the window and hope that where you will end up is where you're meant to be. And yeah. And I'm sorry for misinterpreting Gurbani and rambling on. And if anyone would like to share their story in front of everyone and just continue the dialogue and keep the inspiration coming, I would like to open up the floor for